Today I'm going to replace the spark plugs on a 2017 Lexus RX350. This is possibly a difficult and time-consuming job, and we're about to find out just how difficult it is. This will be my first time attempting to replace the spark plugs on this kind of vehicle, so it could be fun. So the first thing we need to do is remove this cover so we can access the spark plugs. And looks like this just pops off. Take that out. So the front three spark plugs are easy to get to. 1, 2, and 3. The rear ones are behind this, and they're going to be the challenge to get to. What we're going to do is we're going to start by taking the air box off. Use a 10mm socket on this. You could use a Phillips screwdriver if you wanted. This wiring harness is taped to this bracket back here, so we'll just pull that off and retape it when we're done. Alright, put that to the side. So this is where the wiring harness was attached, right here with this tape. Underneath you can see that there is a clip that if we could get underneath there we could pop this out. That would be the other way to get the harness off without having to retape it, but easier and faster for me just to pull the tape and I'll put new tape on. Alright, we're going to use a 12mm socket. And we are going to remove this bolt. And I like to put bolts back where they came from, so at the end of a project when I'm trying to put stuff back together, I don't have a bunch of random bolts I'm trying to figure out where they go. So I'm going to throw that back in here for now. And I'm going to disconnect this little harness. I think. There we go. Pull that, and we'll set this off to the side. I'm going to disconnect the throttle body connector right here. Same kind of connector, pinch, squeeze, and pull. We're going to take our 10mm socket and remove the throttle body. These two should be coolant lines, and we're going to leave those connected. I don't want to deal with disconnecting coolant lines, so we're just going to pull the throttle body with a 10mm socket. the last bolt. And we'll pull that to the side a little bit. And we'll set these back in here so we remember where they go. Now, there is a gasket in here that is important to keep in, so just make sure that doesn't come out or get lost. You have to have that. Okay, so now we need to work on getting this intake manifold off. We're going to disconnect this hose, get that out of the way, and then our vacuum lines here. Disconnect those. Sometimes it's a good idea to take a picture of your work before you get started so you remember where things go. This is pretty self-explanatory. Cables are gonna, or the tubes are gonna go where they reach and where they're in line for. So that's not a big deal. We're gonna disconnect. Actually, we'll just unbolt this whole unit. And that is a 10 millimeter. Actually, I think we can leave our vacuum lines on this. We don't need to take them off. So we will put those back for now. If we need to take them off later, we can, but no need for now. We're going to take this clip out. This is going to be like the other one that we saw on the air box. This one's easier to get to, so we'll pop that off. Okay, so I'm going to use my strippers. That's what I've got handy. And we're just going to squeeze the tabs in if we can here. There we go. Get that out of the way. Let's see what we have. I think we should be okay for now. Alright, so back behind the throttle body back here, we have got a bracket that we need to remove a couple bolts on. There's one here, the lower one. Let's see if we can get you in focus here. Here's the upper one right here. We're actually just going to loosen this one and we'll pull the top one. So the bolt that we just pulled from the bracket that was behind the throttle body is a 12 millimeter, as is the bolts here on the intake manifold. So we're going to go ahead and pull these front bolts with the 12 millimeter socket. Alright, so we got some hoses in the back we need to disconnect. Looks like 3 of them. The middle one here, far one, and one right here. It's kind of dark back there, but yeah, I think you can see it. These have some hose clamps on them, the kind you just squeeze with some pliers and disconnect. So we're going to work on getting those disconnected. Okay, so I got that out. And this is where the hoses were connected. Here's another looks like vacuum line that I'm just going to disconnect. Just have to remember, obviously, to put it back on and where it goes. I'll get that here in a minute. This piece right here actually is a piece that we can pull off. So what I'm going to do is, to make it easier to put everything back in, is I'm going to pull that piece off and I'm going to reconnect the hoses to it. That way when I go to put it back in, I just have to clip it on this intake here. So let me take care of that. So this piece right here is a little too skinny for my crimpers to reach in, so I'm just going to use a screwdriver here and see if I can do one side at a time. Get this to pop out. And there we go. Set this to the side. And hopefully this won't be in our way later on, but I'll disconnect it if I need to. But I want to get these back in this way to make it easier later on. I can actually squeeze these with my fingers. When it's this easy to reach, I don't need to use the pliers. But we do want to position these so that if somebody has to take them off in the future, they can reach it with pliers. And we'll throw that guy on there. All right, we'll set that out of the way for now. I'm going to go ahead and pull this gasket, and I'm going to cover this so that stuff doesn't fall in. I see some junk on here that I don't want in there. So I'll get this out of the way. I'll get that cleaned up and throw a cloth over it, or a couple cloths. I'm going to wipe from inside out so we don't knock stuff in. Alright, that looks like about, well, I don't know, it's not. Let's just make sure it's better. Alright. Kind of get that in there. Alright, that's not too bad. Alright, so we've got our 3 spark plugs on the back, and these are supposed to be kind of challenging to get to, so let's find out where those are at. Oh, way back there. Alright, so it looks like some of this we're going to have to do by feel. Here's one of them right here. I've got another one I can feel right back here. And right there. So those are going to be set up like the front ones. So we're going to have to remove a bolt, remove this clip, and get to the spark plug down in there on the back side. Actually, looks like we don't have to disconnect the harness to it. We'll let's pull it off. Should be a 5/8 spark plug socket. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of those. Alright, so this could be challenging. And this out of the rear ones, which are the hardest to get to, this looks like probably the easiest of the hard ones, so I'm not sure how challenging the other ones will be. Let me get this in the friggin' hole. Come on. There we go. So with an extension, it feels like I'm on it. Should be all right. Okay, that should be it. You have to be careful not to drop these when you put them in. Otherwise, you will have to gap them. So let me carefully put this in. There we go. Make sure it's not cross-threaded going in. There we go. That's turning correctly. I like to get things started off at least by hand. That way I know it's not cross-threaded. If it's too difficult going in by hand, chances are you're cross-threading. So we'll get this going in quite a ways before we put a socket on it. The recommended torque on these is 13 pounds, so we'll set that, which we've done, and get it snugged up. Okay, that one's good. All right, so there's one of the hard ones, and we'll go ahead and put it back together. I'll do these one at a time just to make sure everything is straight. And on to the next. Let's see, where is that bolt at? Right there. Well, looks like my camera's been shutting off on me, so I'm sure I missed some footage there. But what we have now, I've replaced all the back spark plugs and put the connectors back on, so the back is completely done. And this is way easier than it seems like it was going to be. So things are going good. I'm gonna go ahead and I guess I'll replace the front ones and just get all the spark plugs out of the way, and then we'll throw everything back together. Okay, so all the spark plugs are in, and it was definitely easier than I thought it was going to be. I think the dealership wanted $500 to replace the spark plugs, and now that I've done this once, if I was to do it again, it would probably take me about an hour and a half. So for me, it's totally worth it to do it myself. So next, we're going to put everything back together in the reverse order that we took it out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this gasket back in. Let me clean it up a little bit. And looks like there's a tab here, which is where this little guy goes, I think. There we go. Get that seated. All right, then we're going to put that in. Let's get these out of here. So what I want to do, I want to put this back in, but I have to get my white hose bracket clipped back into the back. So I want to see if I can do that before I get this seated. Just have to go by feel on this one. All right, that's in. Carefully put this in. I'll make sure there's no wires in the way and make sure our gasket doesn't fall out. And everything looks good. Throw these nuts on real quick. And then the bolts. And oftentimes when you take bolts out, you'll want to put them, you'll lay them out in a position to where you know which hole they came out of. These are all the same bolts, so these don't matter. It doesn't matter if we have these in a pile. But sometimes you'll have bolts of different lengths, and they're specific to the hole they came out of, so oftentimes it's important. These are going to be the 12 millimeter. Something that I did forget was this hose right here that goes in the back that I was going to try to remember, but I didn't. So I should be able to feel the spot back there and just plug it on. Should be about right. Yeah, that should be good. All right, we have got this guy. And it went on the back of that white clamp too, so that's going to be tricky, I think. Where did that come from? Yeah, that was there. Oh, it goes right there. Okay, never mind. And get this bolted back on. I believe that's a 10 millimeter. This goes over the top here, there, and this one goes in here. All right, should be it for this side. We'll get the back bracket bolted on. All right, so we've got this back bracket. We've got bolt back on. We've got left the bolt in here, so you pull this bolt out. I know you guys probably can't see very well, but if you're doing this yourself, it's not too difficult. And move the bracket up. Come on. Come on. All right. That's going in. Okay. I don't remember if that was a 10 or a 12. We'll try a 10 for starters. Nope, looks like that was a 12. And the bottom one. Those are snug. Now I believe we can put this back on. Take these out. And it looks like I've routed this tube incorrectly, so I'm going to do it the right way. Back off. Because I see it's supposed to sit in that. Back together. Gasket's still in place, so that's good. To replace this air filter, but I don't have one, so I will get one later and get that swapped out. A little rough. These are 10 millimeter. I don't want to tighten these too much because they're screwing into plastic. I don't want to break anything, I just want it snug. Alright, we'll put this back on. And see if we're missing anything. This hose can go back on. Okay, this thing goes right here. It's on, plug it in, got the click. Alright, so then take Just gonna slide that on. All right, looks like we got everything connected. We just double check, make sure we didn't miss anything. Vacuum lines, bolts, no extra parts. Yep, looks good. I'm going to go ahead and start it up. See how it runs. Alright, just need to throw the engine cover back on. Let's see. Alright. Okay, so that's it for today. Spark plugs are in, car is running like it's supposed to, and I saved, if I remember correctly, about 500 bucks as opposed to taking it to a Lexus dealer. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.